Hello and welcome to Security Cameras and More. In this video we're going to take a look at the different possible configurations of wireless security camera systems. We talk to people all the time who are considering purchasing a wireless security camera system, and they get very confused when they start to look at all the different possibilities and the different cameras and receivers and recorders. So hopefully this video will help clarify that and help you make the best decision when you purchase a new wireless system. As you can see, we have 6 different configurations. Each one of these configurations has a separate video that diagrams out how all the equipment fits together, hopefully further clarifying each one of these. But let's take a look at this first one. The first configuration is a wireless camera and receiver only. And when we say only, we mean that there's no recorder or monitor. So you simply have a camera with a built-in transmitter, and it transmits back to a receiver, and it kind of ends there. Examples of this are the ACC-WD1, the C1190, or the CU Cam1. The advantages of this configuration are that you can connect the receiver to any recorder or monitor. So if you have a DVR with an open channel or a television that you want to watch the footage on, you can connect the receiver to this. That's also a disadvantage, though, also because it does not have a built-in recorder. You have to have a recorder or monitor for this to really make sense to do anything. You can add this onto a wired system, and the ACC-WD1 is scalable to 4 cameras. So you can have 4 wireless cameras and receivers working side by side with no interference. It's a great advantage. The next configuration that we're going to talk about is the wireless camera and receiver with recorder. Examples of this are the GX301, which is by far the most popular wireless system we have. It's an excellent system. The C1196, the C800, or the DigiAir SD. And this is where you have wireless cameras with built-in transmitters, and they transmit back to a receiver that also functions as a recorder. So the receiver and recorder are one unit, and the recorder is built into the receiver. So it's usually an SD card that it records onto, and it's very easy to set up and use, and you can easily connect this to a television. The RCA cables come with it, or you can plug it right into a television. The disadvantages of this system are that there's limited recording capacity. So you're recording onto an SD card, and those are usually limited to 32 gig. You know, if you had a full DVR, you can go up to 2 terabytes. So you have limited recording capacity. Now it'll record over the oldest footage and all that, but just something to keep in mind. The other thing is that these are kind of standalone units. They don't connect to the internet or 3G network. The third system we'll look at is a wireless camera with a USB receiver or recorder. Examples of this are the C1195 and the C1193. C1193 is a very popular camera and solution. It's an excellent product. The big advantage of this configuration is that it takes advantage of a PC. So you have a wireless camera with a built-in transmitter. It transmits that back to a receiver that's built onto like a flash drive, and that plugs into a USB port, and then you load some software on a computer, and that's where all the recording is done. You can also access it through the internet. So it takes advantage of your PC, uses your PC's hard drive as the storage unit. They're easy to set up and use. You can access the footage through the internet connection of the PC, and this is really where you get the most functionality for the price. It's the best value. Now the disadvantage is, well, you need to have a PC for this to make sense. If you don't have an old PC or a laptop, or just a computer that you can use, this is not really an option for you. Also, the PC must stay turned on in order for it to record or access it through the internet. The next configuration we'll look at is a wireless camera in DVR with receiver. Examples of this are the ACC-DW-41 and the ACC-DWM4. Now this is what I would call the most comprehensive, full-featured surveillance system that you can get for the wireless systems. It offers all kinds of functionality, high-capacity recording. Like I said earlier, the DVRs can have up to 2 gigs, some of them, or 2 terabytes, I'm sorry. And you can have simultaneous recording of up to 4 cameras. So this is where you have multiple cameras, they have built-in transmitters, they transmit back to a DVR that has built-in receivers. The signal is received by the receiver and then it's recorded right onto the DVR. So it's full-fledged surveillance system. The disadvantages of this are the price. They're more expensive than their wired counterparts, and definitely more expensive than the wireless configurations we've been talking about earlier. And there's a more advanced learning curve with this. It's not as easy to set up and use. It's not too bad, but it's definitely more advanced than, let's say, the GX301 or some system like that. The next system we'll look at is the wireless camera that transmits directly to your Wi-Fi router. Examples of this are the WF-NV-11 and the WF-PT-11. The biggest advantage of this is that it transmits right back. You have a wireless camera with a built-in transmitter that transmits right back to your Wi-Fi router and uses that as a receiver. So you don't have to, there isn't this extra receiver that you have to use. It's very easy to set up and use. It's a great value. The disadvantage of this is that you need to have a Wi-Fi router, and not every place of business or home has Wi-Fi technology set up. Another disadvantage is that it's not scalable, meaning that it's really just made for one camera. And you also need to have a PC to do any type of recording for this. The last setup we'll talk about is a separate transmitter and receiver, and this is with no cameras or DVR. And examples of this are the ACC-TR1 and the WI-DVR-W81 is actually a system that takes advantage of this configuration. And this is where there's just a separate transmitter and a separate receiver. You can take any camera and plug it into that transmitter. It'll transmit back to that receiver, and you plug that receiver into a DVR. So if you need some type of super high resolution or super great night vision camera, you could use that camera, plug it into that transmitter, transmits back to the receiver, and that then goes on to a DVR or a monitor. Now the disadvantage of this is that the transmitters are not waterproof. So if you have an outdoor camera that you want to use, you have to provide some type of housing or have the transmitter indoors somehow. It's more equipment to worry about, meaning that there's just more cabling and equipment laying around that has to be taken care of, and there is a cost associated with this solution, because you still have a camera, a DVR on the other side, and you have to purchase a separate transmitter receiver. So it will definitely add to the cost, but it's a great solution if you need to have a specialized camera in your system that needs to be wireless. So that's it. I hope that this clarifies some things. Again, look for the videos on each one of these solutions that will diagram out the solution and how all the equipment fits together. Thank you. I hope this was helpful.